I'm Scott Anderson from Finger 11. Blast off to the music universe.
Oh, buddy, we got a rock and roll one today.
Oh gosh, I love rock, man. There's something about it that just gets you moving, I think.
It's really exciting. As you saw, we have Scott Anderson with Finger 11. He'll be up second. First up, we have Chris Henderson with Three Doors Down, the guitarist. Good old Mississippi boy. He talks at about 3.8 miles a second in our interview. Very, very fast talker. So I think we got through about 20 minutes worth of questions in 10 minutes. But we had fun. It was an early morning interview. I was rolling out of I had rolled out of bed to do it. You were actually out of bed getting your young daughter and her friend ready for school.
Yeah.
So I had to take this one solo. They are celebrating 20 years of one of their albums. They are also on the road this summer and on their 2023 tour. And we also talk about new music as a follow-up to 2016's album, Us and the Night. So this was really, really fun. Here's our first interview with Chris Henderson. Chris Henderson with Three Doors Down. Welcome to the Music Universe podcast. How are you this morning?
I'm doing pretty good.
Well, it is a pleasure to talk to you. You guys, I think as this airs, you guys will be on the road for your summer tour. How's that been going?
Everything seems to be, tickets are going really well. You know, people are interested. It's going to be a good. I mean, I just woke up. My brain's not really twisting as good as it should be. But it's going to be a good show, man. Us in Candlebox, man. It's just going to be like hit after hit after hit after hit. You know, it's going to be it's exciting. I'm excited about it, to be honest with you.
Very cool. Very, very cool. And anything from the most recent album, Us and the Night from 2016, do you guys, I know you said hit after hit, and of course there are songs that I always say they'll string you up out back if you don't do, they'll be waiting for you. But is there anything from the newer music that you guys try to get in the set list?
I mean, what we typically do is we just start like kind of playing what we think, you know, people want to hear, and just kind of pulling it back and forth from there, adding and subtracting songs. So there may be a couple songs from that record coming up, you know, in the first couple shows, maybe not. We haven't really decided yet. As we do the rehearsals, because we'll do like a week of rehearsal before we go out, we'll kind of plug and play and do different things there. But mainly, I mean, honestly, if you really want a band set list, you just really got to go to like one of the streaming platforms and see what people are listening to. You know,
that's clever.
Yeah,
that's clever. That's clever. I am curious, you guys being from the South, from Mississippi, and kind of all over that area, how has that informed you as a rock band? Normally, when you think of Southern bands, we on this side at least we get a lot of country artists from that area, but to be as alt rock, or some people have described you as post grunge, how does being from the South influence your sound?
I mean, there's places that we don't have to be afraid to go, I guess you'd say. You'll hear some Southern stuff in some of our music. A song called Father Son's pretty dark and Southern, and we don't have to be afraid of that because it's kind of where we are. So it gives us a chance to just like to branch out the other direction, if you will. You know what I mean? We don't have to be what people expect. We can be what we really, you know, what we really are. So I think that's the main thing. If we were able to kind of like dip back into the South when we needed to, or felt like we wanted to, but really didn't have to. You know what I mean? Like we don't sing with a Southern accent because that's the only what country people do that. You know, air in my bear. I mean, no one. If you listen to me talk and you listen to Brad talk, and then you listen to either one of us sing, I don't really sing that much. But if you did, we don't sing with a Southern accent. So that's another thing. It's like you could do it if we wanted to, but we don't have to because we're not a country band. You know,
right? Was that? And I got to say, I grew up listening to you guys. My dad didn't really play music of his era where he grew up. He had mixtape of like rock music from the 90s and 2000s. So it was you guys, it was Finger 11, who we're going to have on the show later. So I mean, Kryptonite is imprinted in my brain from all those road trips with my dad. And I never realized until recently that you guys were from the South. Was that hard to not sing with those Southern accents, or was that easy for you guys to get out of in terms of
No,
the style?
no, because if you sing with the Southern accent, you're trying to sing with the Southern accent. That's the
Mm.
thing. Start pushing, the accent goes out, accent goes away. You know, I think the only way that accent it kind of shows up in music is if English might be your second language and you're singing. Let's say you're from South America and you're singing English, you might have a little accent there, but no, the accent goes away completely, pretty much for everyone.
Interesting. So, gosh, I can't believe it's been over 20 years. You guys recently celebrated 20th anniversary with some projects, with some things. When you look back and you think of 20 years, does it surprise you? You've been with the band from 98, so this marks your 25th year with
Yeah.
Three Doors Down. I mean, when you think back, did you guys think it would go this long and you would have this career?
I mean, no, you really don't know. You can only wish. It's such an incredible thought to have a job like this, especially that young. And it'd be a dream come true to have a job like this. So you don't really. I can't really answer that question 100% truthfully. All I can say is that I had my fingers crossed a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And you start believing in superstition, and you start believing in karma, and you start believing in all these other things that can take it away from you more than give it to you. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So I had a job as an industrial maintenance supervisor, and I was always working on machines with my hands and my fingers all the time, and I was just afraid. Here it comes. Here we've got signed. We're getting ready to go to the studio. I'm going to lose a finger. You know what I mean? Or I'm going to get hurt so bad that I can't play guitar anymore. There's always just something like that, and things that you never worried about that come into play. But so no, I guess to answer it in a few words, I didn't think we would, but I didn't think we'd get signed to begin with. And then when we did, I didn't think we'd stay signed. And then when we did stay signed, I didn't think it would just kept going.
Right. I want to take a minute, and you mentioned the hits, playing the hits. Of course, like I said, I grew up Kryptonite's imprinted in my brain, and talking to you as the guitarist, that song is very guitar driven, guitar heavy. The opening licks of it, very iconic. What was the process of creating the guitar parts for that song?
Well, I can't take any credit for that. I wasn't in the band when Kryptonite was written. Kryptonite was one of the songs written by Brad, Matt, and Todd. And I was in another band at the time, so I can't speak to that one as much.
Interesting, because again, reading, I might have my timeline wrong, but with it being written, I don't think it really kind of came out till you had joined the band. It didn't really, you guys didn't take off till 98, 99, 2000 when you were with the band. So forgive me for that mistake there.
A lot of people think, I've been in this band a long time, man, and I've been in the band since '96. If you want to get technical,
Right.
So even before, but Kryptonite was already written. So Kryptonite was written. So there were 3, maybe 4 songs, maybe 5 that were written all together when I got there. So there'd been Life of My Own was one of them. Loser was one of them. Kryptonite was one of them. There was a song called Rebel Shadow. I don't think we play anymore. And a couple others. Sarah Yellen, Dead Love. But I was able to contribute a bit to the other songs as a writer as they developed in the studio. Kryptonite was not one of those songs. That song was like cut and dry, 100% done from front to back. The way that you hear it is the way it was written. Loser as well, and so both of those songs were done, and both of those songs were smashes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. I want to talk about new music because I know that's been in the works since 2018. There's been this idea that there would be a follow-up to Us in the Night, which of course we're coming up on 8 years now since that came out. Is there anything you can tell us as to where we might be with new music?
I mean, there's a couple songs getting kicked around. I mean, COVID just kind of took the wind out of everybody, and just us included, because couldn't tour, and there's just mask mandate and all this other stuff. And it's just like you know, it just added 2 years to a project that, you know, instead of running into the studio and doing a COVID record, quote unquote, we didn't do it. We didn't do anything. You know, we waited it out. So we're gonna put out, probably not gonna be putting out a record anytime soon, like a full new release record. Like you know, they're expensive to make. Nobody really buys them, so it's kind of tough to justify, you know, spending $100,000 making a record when you can just do singles and release them to you know, TikTok or Spotify or wherever, you know, where people won't listen to them at, in pieces and bits and pieces. So that's really what we're doing. So you'll hear some stuff this summer, but it's not going to be in a packaged Three Doors Down. You know, there will be a release that goes along with the 20th anniversary of this of us and excuse me, of Away from the Sun. It'll have some new stuff on it, but it's like, you know, so stay tuned for that. But there's not going to be a new Three Doors record with, you know, 11 brand new songs releasing anytime this year.
Well, you know, any new music from a awesome band that's been around as long as you have is worth waiting for, and really excites the fans. When you guys go on tour, what's the most exciting thing for you on the road?
Dropping in CrossFit gyms is one of my things I like to do. Go out and meet people, and, you know, just see friends I haven't seen in a long time. We've been touring the United States for, shoot, man, since 2000, 23 years, my 23rd year touring. So I mean, I've made a lot of friends over you know, over the course of those 23 years, and friends I've had since I was in the Navy before that. So I've got friends from the military that'll be coming out, and so just seeing all my friends is kind of like that I don't necessarily get to see a lot. Is what I'm looking for.
Well, thank you for your service. I didn't know you were a veteran. Thank you for your service. That's wonderful. Yeah, it's you guys feel, just like I said, your sound is so unique. It's evolved over the years, and I'm curious because, like you said, you did get to contribute to some of that stuff once you were coming aboard. The sound has been described as everything from alternative rock to post grunge. I'm curious, as a member who's been inside this music, how do you describe the Three Doors Down sound?
I mean, I think it's just rock and roll. I don't know. I mean, I get post grunge because the whole Seattle thing, and they called that grunge, and then everybody that comes out after that, you know, that iconic band that shows up was Nirvana, then Pearl Jam, becomes post that. So I mean, I guess that fits, but like at the end of the day, we're not a grunge band. You know, we're not singing about shit. We're not singing about, like, you know, we're singing about life. I think we're a rock and roll band. You know, that's what I think we are. And, you know, even if you say that, you can be modern, and there's so many labels, and there's so many different, like, Three Doors is such a, like, there's so many different songs. If you listen to our hits, they're one kind of thing. If you listen to the songs in between, they're another kind of thing. Really dig down into our catalog, man. There's some, like, metal. There's some, like, you know, there's a lot of different kind of stuff that's in there. It'd be really hard to label us post grunge, I think, because I mean we're not one genre of music. Like, you listen to Pearl Jam, listen to Pearl Jam. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that we jump all over the place. So I think we just got to get
that's
labeled.
good. And that's what the reason post grunge is in my head is I was, you know, you do a lot of research, even though I know about the band and familiar with your hits, you do a lot of research when you're getting ready for an interview. Like it's, I saw post grunge, I'm like, I don't even think about that either. Like you said, I think it's just rock and roll. It's just good music, you know?
Yeah. I never understood how they, you know, people always wanted to put it somewhere. You know, everybody did. They wanted to put us, like, in the spot that we didn't really, you know, you can't put any band in there unless they created that, you know?
Right.
You know?
Right. And I think it's, you know, like you said, you're listening to Pearl Jam, but also too, when you're listening to Three Doors, you're listening to Three Doors, and you know a Three Doors Down song when you hear it. And so that, and like you said, those deeper cuts kind of go all over the place. And so you guys never said, okay, we are this, we're just music, and we do what we want to do.
We do what we want to do. And we've never really tried to, you know, push an envelope left or right. We just wrote, excuse me. And if we liked it, we recorded it. Or if someone else liked, you know, we pretty much recorded everything we ever wrote, everything we wrote. You know, very many songs didn't get recorded. Excuse my language.
So, no, I'm excited for this summer tour. I can't wait to come out and see you guys. I'm so glad that you are still on the road and still doing it and still performing. Not a lot of bands from go and have the longevity that you've had. Still have. I know they say that excuse me. I know they say Brad is the sole original member, but for my money, you came in right before it sort of exploded. So you're an original member in my book too. And it's rare for a lot of groups that have been going this long to still have the original lead vocalist. So that's one of the things I'm looking forward to is coming out and hearing you guys and hearing that chemistry.
Yeah. I mean, I consider myself not an original, but I consider myself an original. I mean, the same as you do, because I mean, I've been a long time, and it's like, I think, I mean, I may have missed out on 2 years of the beginning of the band, but I was in the band a full 3.5 years before we got signed,
Right.
and so I was there, man, and it's been a roller coaster ride, let me tell you.
Well, Chris Henderson, I cannot wait to come and see the show in Baltimore on June 14th. Thank you very much. And of course, the whole summer tour for people who aren't where I am in DC that want to come and listen. Chris, thank you so much. This was a pleasure. Really appreciate it.
Sir.
He kind of reminds me of the Micro Machine Man. Have you seen those commercials where the guy chats really, really fast?
Yes.
But it's great. I love it. And a lot of great information there that he gave.
I didn't realize, I mean, I probably knew it in the back of my head, but I didn't realize they were a Southern band. So they've done a lot of stuff for, it just seems to be in the DNA of bands, whether they're country, rock, whatever. They've done a lot of stuff overseas for the troops, for the veterans. They've played some presidential inaugurations. So they're very patriotic. And that's really interesting is sometimes when you think of patriotism in music, you go towards country, but there are plenty of rock bands that are as patriotic as some of those groups. So it's really, really cool to talk with Chris. And I'm sorry we didn't get to talk about that a little bit more.
Yeah, and with bands from like Mississippi, you also think maybe more like Southern rock, and they were a little more on the harder side. And if I remember correctly, he said, people kind of try to put them in their own genre or classify them, and it's not something they, most artists I don't think like that, because they just want to do the music that they enjoy doing, and people enjoy it or they don't. So I think that's wonderful. And they have some great songs. So that's cool that they're doing all that.
Great. Yeah, it is. Now we move on to Scott Anderson, lead singer since inception with Finger 11, one of the rock bands my dad introduced me to growing up. You've heard me say a couple of times. You'll hear me say a couple of times on this episode that he didn't play, Kiss and the groups he grew up listening to. He kept those records at his parents' house and just played mixtape or whatever was out. I mean, this man would have a mixtape going from Finger 11 and Chumbawamba to Miley Cyrus. So
wow.
Yeah.
I was subjected to classic rock most of the time, and great either way. I loved it. So I think too, as you get older, sometimes you don't necessarily appreciate your parents' music as a kid. I was never really into Led Zeppelin growing up, but as I got older and discovered them myself, it's like, wait a minute, there's something going on here. So I see what you're saying. He kind of grew up listening to what he liked, and then discovered newer artists as they came out, and then subjected you to it.
No, I've been trying to convince him to go to Kiss since they announced their final tour. He will not do it. But maybe I could get him to go to. He doesn't like concerts. He is not a concert goer. But he was a drummer in high school and college, and he had a kit at his parents' house. So I could talk about my dad all day, kind of the secret musician of the family. But we have Scott Anderson talk about the new Greatest Hits album, why it's taken him so long, and what the 11th Finger in Finger 11 really means, and no, folks, it's not what you would think. So here's our interview with Scott Anderson. Scott Anderson of Finger 11. How are you, sir?
I'm pretty good, I gotta say.
Well, thank you for being with us. Lots of things to talk about today, so let's get right down to it. First things first, Finger 11's first ever greatest hits album coming out this month, June 16th. Tell us a little bit about putting the album together and why you guys felt the time was right to do a greatest hits album now.
Well, it's just one of those projects that we've been wanting to do for a long time. And there's, one speed bump after another. And until finally, we got the green light, and we had, I guess we had enough songs to fill the greatest hits. That's point one. Like we had to make sure we could fulfill that. Look, in Finger 11, in our world, everything takes a long time. I wish it didn't, but I'm happy to say that we're finally, one, we're the greatest hits is coming out, and two, our very first vinyl is going to be released as the greatest hits. So it's for us, it's kind of two birds with one stone. Okay, these are two things that we can finally knock off our wish list. So
Yeah.
Better late than never. If the short answer, I guess, the time was right and there were fewer obstacles in the way.
Awesome.
Great.
Yeah. And I see there's 10 greatest hits plus 2 new songs. One is Together Right, your new single, and another is actually a Pink Floyd cover.
Yeah. Well, yeah, they made it a hit, not us, but we put Welcome to the Machine on that record. And that's a song that we've been playing live. We used to open with it. It's like a really big choice we would make. We would like open our live show with it, and then we tried a few studio attempts at trying to like making our own version of it. A few failed, and so we tried again, and finally we're happy with this result. So it did find a spot on this new collection.
Fantastic. And you guys are on tour this summer. I'm hoping to come see you when you guys hit the DC area. Will you be playing the new single on the road?
Yes, we will. We've played it a bit, but it still feels like that a new song. We with a few more rehearsals, I'm going to be a little more confident with it, because now that everybody actually knows the song, I think there's some expectations to make it not sound terrible live. So I'm going to work on that. But yeah, we're definitely going to be playing that song. It seems to be hitting with people. So we like to make our set list as hit heavy as we can. If we're promoting a new record, we're excited about it. We don't mean to like make the audience angry by playing new stuff. It's we're excited, but we're very aware. Where it's like, no, man, you should put. We want to try to play the songs that are going to make people happy. So that new song will be in there.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
And greatest hits arrives on CD, vinyl, and digital, like you mentioned. But I'm also seeing there's going to be some exclusive editions of it. The one that's got me kind of interested the most, I'm a CD guy, and you guys have a special collectible package through Walmart.
Yeah, there's going to be some like different artwork variants that were all creations of James Black, who's the guitarist in the band and has pretty much been the art director for the duration of the band. He's put together all kinds of really, really cool imagery and has spearheaded the project. And it's been a delight to, for the rest of the members of the band to see all these things coming in, from his imagination, just culminated into a really cool package. So kudos to him. I'm happy to be in a band with James and his vision. So it's great. I think it's always nice when that side, if you're lucky enough to have a creative artist in the band, to have them lend a hand with some of the multimedia, which James does. I mean, I think that just it makes the project that much more special.
Very cool. Very cool. I have a question. I'm sure you've answered this a million times, and I'm sorry to make you answer it for the millionth and first, but the band name, where did that come from? I've always been very curious.
Well, so you got to start at the beginning. So we're a band from Canada, and we won a radio contest when we were in high school. Our band name was the Rainbow Butt Monkeys, and we yeah, I know, it's still
very commercial.
Well, we got signed to a major label, and we toured Canada, and we put out a record, and it was like things were going really, really well. If you listen to that record, it's it's got it's rock with some funk, and it's not bad. But it's like the first handful of ideas that we came up with, and we got kind of tired of, well, not so much tired, just more like, oh, okay, we're still in high school, but we're changing musically, and it was important to us to acknowledge that. So we said to the label, no, we are Finger 11 now. And they're like, you're kidding. We're like, no, we need to acknowledge that we're doing something different, and we're going in our own direction. And that's definitely where the name is coming from. Finger 11 is this idea that you're pointing in a direction, you're following your own star, you're going your own way. Some people might not understand it, but it's you gotta stand by your own convictions and do your own thing. Now, in a long line of like Spinal Tap-esque the events that happen to you when you are a rock band, nobody thinks of that. Everybody thinks of more creative elements. And you know what, it's a better, people always ask me, well, Finger 11, it's what I think it is, right? And I'm like, no, it's not. But it's better. I've kind of let go because it's like yeah, okay, rock and roll. But yeah, that's kind of where it came from. We had these strong new musical convictions, and we chose the name, and here we are.
That's great. Now, my brain never went there. I always wondered if it had to do something with like shredding on guitar so fast that it's almost like you have an extra finger. But my brain never went to the dirty place, which is actually rare for me. I will say that. But no, that's great. That's fantastic. And I want to talk about you specifically, because obviously my dad, I said this in an earlier interview with somebody else. I said, my dad was not the kind of person, to play music from his era. He had a mixtape of all 2000s rock. So Paralyzer was on repeat in our house. And talking to you now and hearing your voice as a singer is such a difference. I mean, were you acutely aware of that when you started singing, that your voice was lower and more gravelly than your everyday voice?
No, I wasn't really aware. I just knew that I loved singing, and nothing else feels like singing. Like you'll know if I'm in a terrible. You'll know if I'm in a terrible mood if I'm just not singing something. If I'm not driving you crazy, just singing a phrase over and over and over. That means something is wrong. So I wasn't really aware of any ability. It was just more like, oh, I have to keep doing this because this is making me very happy. So yeah, there's ways to kind of, there's ways to preserve your voice and try and get more out of it. And it's been a long time since I've taken some vocal lessons, but I could always use more. But it's yeah, man, like rock and roll singing. I mean, I do give that advice. It's more like it's just controlled yelling. And to be a good singer in the rock universe, you just have to, whatever you're doing, just do it. Do it like you mean it. That's all. It doesn't have to be right. Just you will connect if you just have that conviction and just stick to it. You belt out a wrong note, well, just belt it out as loud as you can. You'll get there eventually. So yeah, no, I was I just liked it. And I still like it. Nothing else feels like it.
Yeah. And we asked another artist this last week, a country artist, about the camaraderie that they see at their shows and the people that constantly just reattend. Are you seeing that in Finger 11 shows, especially after, the break everybody had to take?
I have seen some faces at recent shows that I have not seen in quite a while, and it's such a thrill. It's like, yeah, there's a it's great. It's like, you hope that your fans don't forget about you, and you also another thing you see is you'll see a fan from back in the day bring their kid to a show. I mean, that's how long we've been doing it. It's like, wow, that is really that's a wonderful thing. Yeah, I hope that there's a lot of people that come out to Finger 11 shows over and over, and I think it's a good energy. Like if you go to a Finger 11 show, it's going to be a positive time. Some of the music might be a little gloomy, but most of it will just be like centered around having a big cool musical party.
Which brings me to a question, because the stereotype is that Canadians are so nice. I have to ask, when you sing Paralyzer, I have the live record, are you censoring shit live, or was that just done on the record?
Oh, no. Oh man, I wouldn't even have the presence of mind to censor that. No. So that's yeah, if somebody said, look, you can't swear, a lot of the times I'll try, I will try not to swear, like during like my nonsense banter between songs, but no, I'm not censoring shit when I sing Paralyzer.
Then somebody got in there and made it sound like you pulled the mic away.
Oh man.
Oh geez. But to the point you just made, you've been doing it so long that the kids are now coming of original fans. Brings us kind of back to the original point that question we started this with, which is why so long to get to a greatest hits compilation like this? And you mentioned some of those challenges earlier. Was there anything specific holding you back 10, 12 years ago from doing it then?
Well, I think maybe a little, I think maybe our energy was more focused on like, well, like, let's put more music out. It was right. A discussion that would just kind of go away, and making music and making new music was always the priority. So it wasn't a project that we threw ourselves into. It was just more like, oh yeah, we should do that. Okay, put that on the board. It's probably a combination of lazy work ethic and then like wishful thinking of like getting new music out faster than we do.
Yeah.
Right.
Now, you guys potentially, besides this project and the tour, working on new music?
Yep. Yes, we are. And I'm happy to say there's a lot of songs that are almost done and they're really good. And then there's a whole bunch of songs that need a lot of attention. So we have a game plan. But now that we put the single out, we're starting to get some calls, and we might get busier touring, which makes less time to work on the music. But we're gonna, it's a high class problem to deal with, and you're going to hear more new music from Finger 11 sooner rather than later. Definitely sooner than 7 years or however long it's been. It will be.
Yeah.
It'll be
Well, we
much.
will be listening. When I hear you say that, though, about, always taking the back burner, I want to say that's kudos to the label or wherever you were signed, or if at the time you were independent, but kudos to the label for not saying, okay, we need to milk Finger 11. Let's get a greatest hits package and get it out now, because a lot of times that's not the artist's decision. It's the label to say, no, this is a marketing tool. Let's use it. So I actually think that was a good thing that it continued to take the back burner, if that makes any sense to you whatsoever.
Yeah, no, it's nice to not. I mean, look, that what a nightmare to be forced into releasing something you don't want to release. You're exactly right. So I can hold my head up high and say, no, we weren't ever in that position. And so that, yes, despite ourselves, this timing is fantastic.
That's great.
And I
That
have
is great.
one last question myself, and that 4 of you are original members, and of course you've had a drummer since 2013 with Steve. How is that? That's kind of rare these days, or any day really, to see a band with that longevity to have most, if not all, the original members. How have you guys just managed to kind of keep it together, so to speak, and you guys love each other that much that hey, we want to do this to the end together?
Yeah, well, okay. Well, the one of the aspects of, Sean is my brother, so he can't get rid of me, I can't get rid of him. And then Rick and James, like we were, the fundamentals are strong. I met James in when I was what do you call it, like grade 7 or 8,
Right.
Middle school.
Yeah, middle school. And I introduced him to Rick, and they butted heads. James was into Guns N' Roses, and Rick was into Jimi Hendrix, and they had really, really strong opinions and weren't afraid to yell them at each other. And so we've mellowed out. We've mellowed out since. There's a lot of arguments. They're just easier to navigate nowadays. There's more, there's always been respect, and there's the goal of, like, we got to make the best music that we can. You're gonna win some arguments, you're gonna lose some, but there's that, and then there's that kind of chemistry that's still there, where it's like, okay, the magic of, like, okay, everybody got their amps on, everybody's plugged in, okay, let's see what happens, and cool things are still happening. So that's what's really keeping us together. When that stops, it's like, okay, well, then what are we doing?
Right. I think that is the perfect place to wrap this. That's wonderful. The magic is still happening. The amps are still getting turned on. I can't wait to see you guys turn on those amps this summer on tour. Scott Anderson with Finger 11, a pleasure. Thank you so very much. Really had fun.
Thank you. Thanks, guys.
Thank you. I love the original band name.
Yeah.
That caught me so off guard.
And you heard me. I thought, because what I thought was coming next was, yeah, we realized soon we needed something a little bit more marketable. I went, yeah, very commercial. And he goes, well, we were signed. I'm like, what?
Yeah, and the label was a little resistant on renaming them.
Although now all I could see in my head, and this should be for their designer, their guitarist who designs it. Now all I can see is a monkey farting a rainbow that just says Finger 11 on it. So that's the next merch that they need to do.
Oh, this just took a complete 180.
Oh, I had fun with Scott. I hope he's listening. I hope he's laughing, and I can't wait to come and see the show this month in June. Lots of good music. Let us know, by the way, on social media in our comment section if you have comments enabled, or email me, email Buddy, and like Scott said, give me your disagreements very loudly. I want to know if you're liking these two guests an episode. These two guests per show episodes. The thinking is, the album came out the 16th. Three Doors was hitting DC the 14th. We promised their team we would get this out to them. I know you guys are all over the country, all over the world, but we promised that they would do it before I head out to see them. So, we grouped them together. We did a recent one on May 19th where we had two releases on the same day. So if you're liking these ones that are kind of organically pairing together with these interviews, please let us know. We'll keep doing them.
Yeah, it just sometimes happens that way. You get events, we have Garth Brooks and Gary LaVox on the same episode because their events were just a few days apart that we covered, and had the wonderful opportunity of interviewing both. So you just never know. So sometimes, the 2-episode thing just, happens to work out with genres or artists that are similar and everything. So
or
yeah,
upcoming releases.
Yeah,
so yeah.
Just let us know what you guys think, and we enjoy doing it. We enjoy putting these together, and actually, I'll be honest, it's a little lighter on the editing when I can put two together.
Yeah. So for the Music Universe podcast, I'm Matt.
And Buddy, thanks for listening and watching. Be sure to check us out at themusicuniverse.com. Subscribe, like, and share at tmupod.com and on socials at The Music Uni. Take care.